Okay, so a little bit about color mixing. So red, yellow, and blue are our primary colors. And artists use something called a color wheel in order to mix those colors. A color wheel is just the way that we organize colors. So we have our primary colors, and if we mix our primary colors at about a half and half ratio, then we get what we call secondary colors. Secondary means that they're the colors mixed when you mix primary colors. Okay, so if we mix blue with red, we get purple. We'll wash out our brush. And a little trick to save paper towels, I use a towel to dry my brush. It's my always designated art towel. I don't do anything else with it. Okay, and I mix red and yellow, and I get orange. And then I mix blue with yellow, and I get a green. Okay, I want you to remember that this isn't the prettiest color green, and I'm going to show you why it's not the prettiest color green next week. But we can even mix these colors to get a tertiary color, which is kind of the color in between those two. So in between the yellow and the green, you get some sort of a yellowish green color. And in between the orange and the yellow, you get a very light orange, or you can get a red orange, or you can get a dark purple. My purple here has dried, so I'm just going to mix a little bit new purple so I can mix that up. Or you can get a very bluish purple by mixing those. And so this is called the color wheel. So what happens when some of my friends start to mix colors, they make one color green and that's it. But if you remember when we looked at the book that we read 2 weeks ago, and if you didn't see it, the video is still up on the Arts Alive Nassau website. We know that white and black can change the value of a color. That's the lightness and darkness. That's another elements of art. And Miss Samantha did a cool video on the elements of art a few days ago. And so you can peek at that if you need to know what the elements are. Ms. Thomas uses those as her vocabulary to talk about art. So say we have red and we want to make red lighter or darker. Well, if we add white, it makes red lighter and we get sort of a pink. And wash off my brush. If we add black, it makes red darker. We get like a really dark red. Do you see that in there? And so now we have several different values of red from light to dark. Well, we don't have to stop there. What happens if we add a little yellow across? And we move to some peaches, to some oranges, to some orangey reds. Look at all those beautiful colors. We didn't just mix half and stopped. We really mixed a lot of colors. So I told you the kind of magic trick is that we use these colors to mix every color when we paint. And you know, different artists will have different rules, different schools will have different rules. It's really about experimenting and understanding how colors work. And there are different kinds of blue that you can use for mixing, and different kinds of red. Some of them make better oranges and some of them make better purples. You kind of learn that by experimenting and doing it. But one of the things that I always say kind of convinces my students that you really can mix all your colors is when we start to think about different skin tones. Now, in my family, we have all different skin tones. We have skin tones of people who are black, skin tones of people who are white, skin tones of people who are of Spanish descent. And so it's kind of interesting to see all the different ones. So I'm going to start with just my skin tone because it's the one that I'm the most familiar with. But the way that you mix it is by mixing blue, red, and yellow. That sounds crazy, doesn't it? It does sound crazy, but I promise it's not. So I've mixed a little bit of blue and a little bit of red, and I made a purple, and I'm gonna mix that into my yellow, and you can see it starting to turn kind of brown. And then I'm gonna get lots of white, and I'm gonna kind of add that in and look at my color. Well, it looks a little bit too yellow. My skin tone has a little bit more pink in it, so I'm gonna add a little bit more red. And there we go. We made my kind of a skin tone. Now, my daughter is black. Her skin tone is a little bit darker than mine, so I'm gonna mix a little bit more blue in there to get a darker kind of a skin tone, but now it looks too blue, doesn't it? So I'm gonna mix a little bit more yellow to get a darker this. Mix a little bit more red, get some of the pinky in there. And look at this, now we're starting to get darker colors of skin tone. Pretty cool, right? Isn't that interesting? I bet you didn't know. We can take these skin tones and make them lighter and darker and more browny and more pinky, and just kind of change them however we feel like we see fit for the project that we're working on. Interesting? I think it's kind of neat. I think that's the one that always shocks me the most when I say we can get skin tones from red, yellow, and blue. But look at me, I'm just experimenting. I'm seeing what happens if I stick red on here. Look at all those different colors that I got. What happens if I add a little bit of blue? Look at all those different colors I got. So when you start working on mixing colors at home, I don't want you to stop at one color. I don't want you to just mix red and yellow and make an orange. I want you to make all different kinds of oranges. So now, very interestingly, you don't have to just mix just red and yellow. So what if we have red and yellow and we make an orange? But what if we add just like a tiny little bit of blue to that orange? Look at that, we get sort of a burnt orange. Or maybe we add a little bit more blue to that orange. Ooh, now we're starting to get like brown color. Isn't that a pretty brown color? And here's how brown colors happen. When you're looking at your color wheel, colors that are on opposite sides of each other, so orange and blue, red and green, yellow and purple, when you mix those together, those are the colors that make really pretty browns. But not all one color of brown. They'll be all different depending on which colors you mix. So experiment with your color mixing and see how many different kinds of colors you can get. Now what I will say is sometimes when we start painting, we make something called mud. And mud is when we just put down a beautiful color and mix it right there on our paper, and we keep adding to it and adding to it. And at first it starts out really pretty, and then we start swirling it all around because it gets really exciting to paint. And then everything on our paper turns to one exact color of brown. Now that's super fun, I'm not gonna lie. Swirling that paint around right now, that was super fun. But I like to mix the paint off of my paper that I'm using. So I would mix it over here and then take it over to my painting and use it. That way I can stop the mud from happening. So if you have any questions, leave them under the video and Ms. Thomas is happy to answer. Thank you so much, guys.